And then in the back here, there's all these petitions that have been signed by all the people in this area. See, there's this one, we put all of them in this binder for Congressman Thompson. And we're hoping that he expresses our views in Washington on the floor of the House.
Right on.
And debate.
We'd like Congressman Thompson to really be proactive on this, all these issues, but especially the Navy testing right now, and really be a leader on this issue.
Well, he has, he brought the Navy here. I'm sorry he couldn't get him all the way to the coast that day, but I thank you for all of you who went over there to tell
Thanks,
them
Dan,
what
for
you
getting
got.
them there.
Thank you.
Is there any chance he can bring them here to the coast as has happened before? Because we really need to have it right here where we're most directly affected. If he can bring the Navy back so that the coast and the people that can't necessarily travel that far and are most directly affected can speak to the Navy.
I won't I'm going to pass this all on to him.
Isn't he planning to come here in the near future, sometime in May?
I hope.
Well, we would like to meet with him. May we formally request that right now?
And you have to know that the Navy program is supposed to start in September, so we have to really redouble our efforts. I'm going to Washington, D.C., and all the original copies of your petitions are going to Washington, D.C. with me next month. So as many as you can get signed, I'm going to take them to Washington, D.C. I'm going to have a press conference in front of Senator Boxer's office in San Francisco as well before I leave that day, and then I'm going off. So I'd like all of you to know that we have to take action because the public comment period, even though it's over, the Navy feels that we're all going to go away and acquiesce to this.
Does the Navy have an explanation as to why they feel it's safe to detonate these explosives on top of the most dangerous seismic fault in the world?
No, and they never put it in their environmental impact statement. They never addressed the earthquake faults in California.
Don't you think we should stress that more?
Yes, absolutely. It's in the petition, and yes, I think we should stress that more. Yes.
Our friend Pamela says that this fault from the Cape Mendocino south isn't anywhere near as dangerous as the one going north, and that's where they are detonating explosives.
Yes, and they're having, according to the people that live in Oregon, since they started in one section of Oregon already, it's ongoing right now, they're having more earthquakes and they're having more problems with fishing and things. So I'm trying to, in other words, be aware of what's going on in Oregon where they are having trouble. And the Navy is training in the Atlantic. They're training in the Hawaiian Islands. They're training in the Philippines at the Marianas Islands. They're already training in Washington. They're training in Alaska. They're training in the Gulf of Mexico. They are training in Southern California along the Pacific. How many places does the Navy need to train and why for 5 years? In other words, inland. So they put up these big obscurant bombs, and they can be red phosphorus, white phosphorus. They bioaccumulate in the food chain. Those are going to come up. Those can blow in, and that's why the Coast Guard needs to know about this too, because your fishermen, people on the ocean could be exposed and never know what they're exposed to.
Not only that, look at the way the wind's blowing right now. It's coming right down from the
It's always blowing.
It's always blowing this way. It's a predominant area, so it's going to blow down here.
And what would that do to fuel a situation like in Santa Barbara right now with this white phosphorus floating in the air on top of the wildfire?
Well,
it just goes on and on.
It goes on and on, but the list of toxic chemicals in that big, there's a big flyer I brought, has the list of toxic chemicals, and that's a partial list only of the Navy list. But I also want you to know that this is going to pollute the ocean. It can pollute our shoreline. And also, they're asking the National Marine Fisheries Service for a permit to take marine mammals. That means harm, kill, torture, essentially whatever these bomb blasts do. But it's not just marine mammals. We've got birds that we're looking at. We've got all kinds of shore. In other words, along the shore, you've got crabs and you've got shrimp and you've got all kinds of things.
Seaweed.
Along with the salmon and the seaweed. Okay, there's all these things that are going to be impacted by these programs because the flow is going to come down from, in other words, the flow of the ocean comes down this way from the north. And what's going to happen is we're going to have that exposure. And the Navy EIS didn't talk about all the earthquake faults. And that's just California. That's not Oregon and Washington that they could trigger with this. They didn't talk about, not one single sentence that I could find in the 1,000-page EIS talked about the synergistic impacts of any of this.
I'd like to say one more thing, especially for the more worried among us about what they're up to. When they talked about what they were going to do overland in Mendocino County, they said that the only things they were going to do were infrared enhancement technology overflights and a new, I think it's probably a drone, a new aircraft that they're having to train on will be flying over Mendocino County on the land. And then they said, and another question, somebody said, well, what's going to happen when you torpedo in the ocean? How do we know that you won't torpedo, say, a whale that's the size of a submarine? And they said, we send a guy up in the crow's nest to look for whales. So I'm thinking, well, you can do high-tech infrared technology to watch the movements of someone who farts in the forest, but you can't do anything to detect life in your torpedo range. You're sending a guy up in the highest point and saying, I don't see anything. So there's something wrong.
What do Pelosi and Feinstein and Boxer have to say about all this? What do our women in office have to say about all this?
Nothing, and they won't talk to the press. That's right. Barbara Boxer is on the Environment Committee, talks all the time about saving the environment, and won't talk about this program, and has so far not talked to the press, none of them. Speaker Pelosi won't talk to the press about this issue. No one is talking about the press. The only ones that are talking to the press are the Oregon senators and a few congressmen in Oregon. That's it. But no one else will talk to the press.
Why is that? Why do you think they're not getting involved?
Why? Political. Because you see, if they talk about it, then it becomes national news, and they don't want this to become national news. You see, because if they have to come out and say that they're going to let the Navy, in other words, harm the marine mammals, their political careers would be under discussion, and this would go national, right into the national news. So as long as